Hello everyone, it's me, Matt. Normally I would call myself Matsimus, but today I'm relating myself just only as Matt. Today's video is, it's a tough one to make. As most of you are aware and have probably seen on my recent video release, Tank is no longer with us. So I did say in that video I would explain in the comment section below. I was extremely emotional. That was literally about 2 minutes prior to him being given the injection to get put down. Now I'm going to control myself here because I want to try and dedicate this video to Tank and be happy, not be upset and stressed. You know, I'm having a really tough time right now in general, knowing that Tank is gone. But today's video is more of a celebration for Tank because for me, being in the dumps about losing a friend is not the way to go. You know, I've lost friends in the military, in the army, and you know what we do is we try our best to keep upbeat. We go have a drink, we celebrate in their honor, and that's what I want to do for Tank because being in the dumps and being sad and being low is only part of the sort of grievance process. So for me, I want to remember him as the dog I love, have always loved, and to talk about him today and give you a little bit of a rundown as to how me and him came to be. I'll also talk a little bit about his last time with me. And we'll just go through, I guess, a bit of a dedication to him because I can tell you firsthand that you know, a dog is a person's best friend. If you have that connection with a dog, you know what I'm saying. I know it sounds cliche, and many people say, "Oh, you know, yeah, dog's man's best friend," blah blah blah, and you know they get you through tough times. But Tank truly has been a pillar in my mental well-being and keeping me in a place that's sane. He is a huge part of why I did what I did with the channel. You know, a lot of my videos have featured him, and he was, you know, always loving and happy to come along on those videos. And you know, I know a lot of you have been sending such amazing support. I literally cannot express from the bottom of my heart how honoring it is to know that I have a community who is so outright amazing and loving and caring to a complete stranger, really, for the most part, on YouTube about me losing my best friend. And, you know, for me, it's inspiring because it makes me feel that there's a lot of good in the world. You know, I've experienced a lot of bad in the world, and it's nice to see, especially in the world of YouTube, which, let's all be honest here, it can be very toxic at times. It's nice to know that you guys have my back and that you appreciate what I'm going through, so thank you. Now, again, this isn't a sob story, but I do want to talk about exactly what happened with Tank because it was not something that I expected in any way, shape, or form. Now, to start off with mine and Tank's history together, I've never owned a dog. I've never had a dog before. Tank was my first dog, like, that I owned. I never lived or grew up in a house that had a dog. So for me, it was a new adventure. Like, I'd never had a dog, and Canada was my new adventure anyway. And jumping over the cliff with getting a dog from a shelter is something that can be a little daunting because, you know, people say it's tough getting a puppy. You know, they're so hard to raise, and yeah, but they're your puppy, and you know of their history, right? When I got Tank, it was the unknown, and I fell in love with him as soon as I saw the picture of him on a Facebook group, and the Facebook group was from an animal shelter we have in town. At the time, I was working shift work, and the notification came up, got sent to me, and oh god, I'm trying to keep composed here. And the notification got sent to me, and he was just the happiest face ever. I mean, the look on his face was as if he's like, please pick me up. And I just related straight to him. I've been sent lots of pictures of dogs and, you know, of advertisements, come pick up a shelter dog and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, he just shone for me. And I love Huskies and I love German Shepherds. And the mix of them too is just like a win-win for me. And I fell in love with him straight away. Now, as I said, I was on shift work at the time. And I was just across the road from the shelter when I woke up from shift. And I said, you know what? I am going to go get him. That was it. I was ready to go. So I waited at the doors. It was early morning. It was about 6:30 in the morning when I finished shift. They didn't even open doors till 8 o'clock. I waited there for an hour and a half outside, and as soon as the door unlocked, she's like, "Wow, I've never had anyone wait at the door before." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here to pick up." At the time, his name was Nemo. He had been given over by an owner who I presume was either a hunter or avid fisherman, and I guess they had a family and they couldn't. They had to move to a smaller place and they couldn't have Tank. Now Tank is a big dog, like he's a big breed dog. So I never judge a family if they cannot have a dog. If they're going to pass it on, that's fine. And I was more than happy to take him. So I went inside and I could instantly hear barking, like a high pitched barking, almost like a squeal bark, not like a ruff. It was like a roo roo. Like that's really really loud. Like he was super loud, louder than any of the other dogs, kind of just chirping in the morning, ready for their feed. And she says, "Okay, so what are you here for?" I said, "I'm here to pick up a dog." And she said, "Which one?" I said, "Probably the one that's barking like crazy." And I was just kidding. I was expecting it not to be the one that was barking like crazy, but it was Tank. So she led me through, and he was in the cage, and he was just jumping and bouncing around. And I was like, "Oh no, what have I got myself into here? Like maybe this puppy's like crazy and like super aggressive or like super excitable, and I've got I don't have the ability to learn how to raise a dog. That's really difficult because I've never had a dog before." So I was like jumping off a cliff here. But again, I saw him face to face, and I just kind of locked in with him with the cage for a couple of minutes and just kind of hanging with him, petting him. And he was still barking like crazy, but not like aggressive barking. He was just like, "Get me out of here." And I said, "I'll take him. I'll take him. Like, this is it. I'm doing this." And I bought myself a blue collar, not the one that you see hanging off the head here. This is actually his Help for Heroes one, the charity that I support in the background, as you can see behind me. It was a blue collar, and I put it on him, and I hooked him up with the leash, and I walked him out. And at the time, he was a skinny little pup. Like he was athletic, very fast, just like me at the time. He was very athletic, and a lean dog. He was a lean dog. And he was just so proud. He's just strutting on out. He's like, "Yeah, I know where I'm going." And I just connected with him within the first 20 seconds of leaving that cage. He stopped barking. He stopped barking at that point. As soon as I leashed him up and took him out of the cage, he stopped barking. And I let him out, and I took him to the vehicle. I put him in the back, and he sat in the back, and he was pretty concerned. He's like, "Okay, where am I going?" And he barked again in the back, and it wasn't like a bark. It's like a yelpy sort of squealy husky bark, right? I got him home, and at the time we had rabbits. And what a stupid idea this was. I kind of just let him in the house. No, before I got there, I took him for a walk, because they say you're supposed to sort of walk with your dog and get used to them. I walked him for about an hour and a half, and we practiced sort of stopping on the spot and turning around and making him heel, right? Making him know that I'm in control, and, at the end of the day, I'm his owner, and that's how this is going to be. And he connected to that pretty quickly. At first, it took him a while, and then it connected pretty quickly. He was a smart dog. And then I took him in the house, and there was, our pet rabbits, and he just went all out crazy. Like, he was just, "Oh my God, there's rabbits." So, and ever since then, he didn't bark. He stopped barking. And I mean that in every sense of the word. The only time he would ever bark is if there was danger, if he was hurt, which was very rare. Something like a kid stepped on his toe or his tail or something. Or someone was coming that he knew just wasn't quite right. And that was it. He never barked, really, ever again. And that was our time. And then pretty much he's lived at our family as a good dog, the greatest dog, the goodest of boys you can ever imagine for many years. We owned him for 7 years, and he passed yesterday, July 17th at 3:26 p.m. in the afternoon. Now, I guess I should talk a little bit about his final time with me, which is tough to talk about, but it's a lot of people have been asking how did it happen so suddenly. You haven't been talking about him being sick or anything, and he hasn't been. He's been in perfectly good health all the way up until yesterday late morning. Today's the 18th, and I got a phone call from Mrs. Matsimus. And she was driving with my kids to another town to visit family. And I was at work. and she said Tank is just doing sort of like tumble rolls in the back in the trunk because he has a lot of space in the back. So we have like a 7-row seater car. He's doing like tumble rolls and freaking out and just all out crazy loopy. Don't know what he's doing. So they pulled over in a small town. Um, and I said, okay, well, is there a vet around? And the vets were all busy in that small town. And they were about 45 minutes out drive from where they were from me, and about an hour and a half's drive from where they were going. So they were kind of stuck in limbo. My kids are in the car, and the dog is kind of going crazy. He wasn't being violent, wasn't being aggressive. He was just in a bad way. So I said, okay, well, we have two choices. You either keep driving to where you need to go, or you come back to me, or I come to you. I said, what options do you want to take? So she decided to keep going, and I said, okay, well, keep me updated. About 10, maybe 15 minutes later, just prior to her leaving that small town, or just about to leave the small town, he did it again, and this time he lost control of his bowels. He just went all out. He was doing what's almost like a crocodile roll. Now, a lot of people, if you know about dogs, you'll know there's vestibular disease, which is basically something that affects their equilibrium almost like vertigo, and it makes them feel as if they're off balance. So they kind of can't walk, they can't stand up, they kind of roll onto their sides, their face drops. It's just basically their brain isn't connecting correctly to the balance. It's something within the sort of the connections between the ear and, you know what I'm saying? It's like vertigo, and vertigo for the dog. And at first, when I heard about what she was telling me, I said it sounds like something like that. So anyway, I decided because the children were freaking out, I would drive as quick as I can. I left work in an emergency. I drove as quickly as I possibly could to the small town about 45 minutes away. I got there, and Tank was in the back seat, and he was kind of just like lurched against the side of the car wall. And I could tell he was in a bad way. He was in a really bad way. And he didn't want to walk. He couldn't walk. He didn't want to move. As soon as you touched him, he did that sort of crocodile roll again, where they sort of roll on their own axis. And he was just completely losing it, whining and yelping. I knew he was in pain. So I said, okay, I got to get him out of here. Now, there's no vets within the vicinity of that 45-mile radius other than back to my hometown. So I had to drive him back through town, doing this in my backseat of my truck. Doing this yelping and this spinning. I couldn't control him. I couldn't stop him. Like, he was just going all out. He wasn't himself. He wasn't listening to his brain. His muscle function, his motor functions were taking over. Something wasn't working correctly. So I got to the vets, and we had to put him on a gurney. We couldn't sort of carry him out because as soon as you touched him, his body would convulse into this crocodile roll. It was horrible to watch. And all this time, I'm thinking, like, what is going on? This is so sudden. It's so, like, out of the blue. Like, one minute I'm at work, next minute I'm, like, at the ER, the pet ER with my dog, right? So, you know, they take him back and they put him in this gurney. They have to strap him down. They have to physically strap him down because he's a big dog. He wasn't violent or aggressive. I told them that. I said, like, he's not going to nip you even in this state. He won't bite or do anything. And he didn't. He was a good boy. But he was violently trying to do these crocodile rolls. Something was wrong with his brain. Like, it was just going all out. So they had to strap him down, and eventually they said, can we calm him down with some sedation and just kind of relax him? I said, yeah, that's fine. Like, he's not going to go to sleep, but he'll be kind of relaxed. So they did that, and he was still strapped in the gurney in case something, you know, else was wrong. I was waiting there for probably 40 minutes, and they took all my information, and because we don't normally go to this vet. It was an emergency vet. And the vet came out, and the vet came out and said, we don't believe it's vestibular. We think something else could be awry. And I knew as soon as she said, can you come to the side room? I knew where it was going. And she said, you know, Tank has something putting pressure on his brain. Something is in his skull that is causing him to want to do this rolling motion and to get out of certain positions. They took blood. His blood was fine. He was otherwise a completely healthy dog. He was older. He was 12 years old, 11 coming on 12 years old. And perfectly healthy and fine, and you know, nothing wrong with him for the most part. But prior to now, he was jumping around in the backyard, me playing with the soccer ball, and completely fine. And she said, you know, something is in his brain, and she believes it was either a tumor that no one could have known have been there and has grown to a point where it's hit something that's created his brain to not work correctly. More than likely, she says, though, is it's going to be something along the lines of a blood vessel, so vascular, that it's actually ruptured, being that it's so onset. Oh, I keep saying onset. I said that in my previous video. I don't know why I keep saying onset. Ridiculous. Sorry. It was very out of the blue, and that's why, is because it's so quick, because that blood vessel bursts, and there's not really much you can do about it at that point. Now, she offered me some options for Tank. She said it's a very low probability that if surgery was to happen, that there would be a fix, because when it comes to brains and dogs, anything can happen. The cost for many people is no matter. No matter what cost, I'll save my dog from, and I'll have my dog survive however many more months or whatever it may be. And of course, I'm going to be a realist here and not lie to you and say, yes, I would spend $4,000-$5,000 to have Tank live on this planet more. Of course, I would love to do that. But the reality is that I have to look after my family first. And although Tank is part of my family, I don't have $5,000 to spend on Tank. And not even so much to $5,000 on Tank. That is definitely not going to give a guarantee of him surviving. Her likelihood of him surviving, even if we did do CAT scans, medication, and surgery, was very low. Her probability of him surviving was about 20 to 30%. And surviving in a way that he would not be able to walk, he would be on severe medication, he would be constantly sleepy, he wouldn't eat, so we may have had to put an IV or a tube into him. It was basically the worst case scenario you can imagine for having a pet. And being a pet owner is being told that instantaneously and within that day, your dog is either going to be a vegetable for the most part for the rest of his life, or you will have to euthanize and put him down. So, as you can see, I decided to euthanize. And, judge me if you want. I'm opening up the comments section this time. If you want to judge me upon this, you're more than welcome to. He's my dog. I've loved him more than anything I've ever known in terms of an animal. He's my best friend, and I will not put him through suffering. And I decided in that very moment, when she was telling me the facts and the information from a professional, that I was not going to put him through that. Devastating as it was, knowing the condition he was in, and making that choice, I think I made the right choice. That's my personal opinion. And like I said, judge as you wish. I'm not here to defend my actions, but I'm just explaining why this happened and what happened. So, I guess his last moments then. So, we said goodbye to one another. He was still in the gurney. He was awake. He was pretty happy, actually. He was kind of like, who are all these people? I kissed him on the face. I cuddled him. I was in complete tears. The vets were kind of, trying to keep me going and supporting me. They were absolutely fantastic. They were so good. Very professional. Outstanding, in fact. I couldn't have done it better with that veterinarian and that place. It was unbelievable. So I said, I don't want this happening. I do not want him to be euthanized in this condition. I don't want him, freaking out and being scared of the needle and stuff. I want him to be sleeping and relaxed. And they said, yeah, no problem. So they put him under a heavy anesthetic to the point that he was basically ready for surgery. He was sleeping. I said goodbye to him, my last official goodbyes to him before the anesthetic. And then they administered it. He went to sleep. They put him in a blanket. I carried that blanket with them they have it like a family room. And we took him in there and we laid him down. And that's when you saw the footage of me previously giving you guys one final goodbye with him, because I thought it was only fair. I know many of you have had connections with Tank and the channel, and I didn't think it fair for me to just say, I'm making the call, he's going, you don't get to see him ever again. Other than old footage. And I know some of you may disagree with me doing that footage and may, judge me for saying that's not a way that you should be portraying your dog in his final moments. But for me, my dog, I make the call. My channel, I make the call. And I know many people appreciated being able to see Tank. He wasn't in a horrible way there. He was sleeping. He was fine. He was comfortable. He wasn't in pain. So about 4 minutes after that, I did my final goodbyes to him. I pet him. I cuddled him. I pulled my last little tuft of fur off him because he molts, and I kept that little tuft. And then I called the vet in, and the vet came in, and she was really good. She sat down and explained what was going to happen, and she administered the euthanasia, whatever you want to call it, the injection. She gave him the needle, and I held him all the way to his last breath. God, I'm trying not to cry right now. And yeah, so he's in my arms. I held him to his very last breath, and I said to her, I'm gonna hold him as you do this. She said it's completely fine. And yeah, he passed, and I took his collar off as soon as the last breath left his body, and then I laid him down back on the blanket. I kissed him goodbye, and that was that, guys. I lost my dog within 3 hours of knowing he was in a bad condition. Not even 2.5. That was that, and that was my boy. He left me, but as many of you have been telling me, he's probably in another place right now, eating treats, playing with soccer balls, chasing after porcupines, and doing all the other lovely things he used to do. I love him to death. I always will. I'm gonna miss him. He's a huge part of my life, and still will be to this day. And I'm just proud to know that I got to share time with him, and that I chose him over any other dog. I couldn't have picked a better dog. Couldn't have picked a better dog to have. So, yeah. he's an animal. And, yeah, so I just wanted to make the tribute to Tank, and this is a celebration. It's not to be sad. I'm here to try and celebrate with you guys how much of a good dog he was, and how happy I was to be with him. And I'm sure he was just as happy to be with me and the family and the people he met and the other dogs he met that he knew. So yeah, this is a tribute to Tank. I don't have a beverage right now to toast to him, but trust me, I'm going to be doing a live stream in the near future. And, I'm not going to ponder onto the basis of Tank going for too long. It's not going to be like a week of Tank morning. But I think it's only fair that I have a drink in honor of Tank. And in doing so, I'm probably going to do a live stream for that. A live stream in honoring of Tank. I know some of you have been sending me super chats through live streaming. And I appreciate every one of you. And in that particular instance, if you are to send donations through Super Chats, that money will be going to the Humane Society, or the I guess the animal shelter that I got Tank from. Every penny will be donated to that society to prevent, further euthanasia, dogs being put down that potentially don't have homes, etc., and providing support to those dogs. So that's what that stream will be. So in the near future, stay tuned. That will be coming. Yeah, so I just hope you're there for that stream. And again, if you just want to come pop a beer and crack the top of a beer off, and we'll just have a beer in honor of Tank, it'll be coming probably either this weekend. Yeah, it'll probably be coming this weekend. So I have some time to hang out. And then normal content as usual, folks. It's going to be coming back. Tank's here with me. He's always here, right here. He hasn't gone anywhere. Although he's gone, he's still here with me. And again, I know that's cliche. A lot of people have said, death isn't a big deal to me. I don't know why you're so connected, etc. And, I totally get it. Death isn't a big thing to me for the most part either. It's just this connection that I've had with Tank is like nothing I've ever experienced in my life. It's pretty important to me. So I appreciate every single one of you being here on today's video and just listening to my whole story. I'm sorry that's gone on for super long. But I appreciate every single one of you, and thank you so much for the kind support and honors and respect that you have given me during this really tough time. And I'm sure Tank, wherever he is right now, is thanking you too. So, love you, bud. That's it for everyone, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.